Hello, everybody up there in Hangout Land, watching this event live or replay via Google Plus event page, via Crowdcast, this new great Hangout wrapper where people can engage and especially really have a great experience even via mobile or via YouTube. Thank you for being here with us today. It is live on August 4th, 2014, and it is August. So some say it's like we are in the dog days of summer, which are typically known as the mid to late days of July and August when it's hot. In America, sometimes we say, well, it's so hot, the dog even won't go fetch his bone or his goodies. It's just too effing hot. But actually, the whole dog days of summer thing comes back from ancient times. In the Mediterranean areas, in Egyptian, Greek, and Roman cultures, they were watchers of the stars. And they watched, actually, the movement of the stars, and especially enjoyed looking at Canis Major, the dog star, called Sirius. That's another name for it. And the brightest star would be watched. And as it turned out, during what's called the helical rising of the dog star, during these days of July or August, often this heat, this burning fiery heat, would have people parched, and maybe disease and illness was more present. And so sometimes these days of discomfort were known as the dog days of summer. So we're in this season now, here in the Northern Hemisphere anyway, and you may or may not have real hot weather where you are, but maybe there are conditions in life or in social media land that have you a little hot under the collar, sweating, or just not breezing through as coolly as you might like. So today we're gathering together to talk about weathering the shifts in Google+. And I have a great panel here with me today, and what I'm going to do right now is bring a little levity into this day. My F word for the day is fan. So I would like all of you watching today, for whatever is hot, just remember to get out your fan, blow away that heat, smile, laugh, and be in fulfillment and the abundance that you really can experience now. Yeah, fulfillment, abundance, and now. We're playing with words again here. But let's get our laugh on. Let me invite all of my panelists to just get everybody laughing. Take a deep breath in, and let's just fan away all of our troubles about Google Plus and Google changes. Take a deep breath in. All right, let's laugh, everybody.
Okay.
And if you're goofy and a little daring like me, you might even go, cool off. But only for a minute. Okay, we were discussing in the green room whether I was going to be effing bold enough to do that, but, what the flock, So anyway, let me say hi to everyone here, and one by one, tell me where you're hanging out from, and, if you're associated with a business or just want to give yourself a 4 or 5 word descriptor, you can do that too. I'm going to start with Ben Fisher. Hey there, Ben. Where are you hanging out from?
Hello. How is everybody doing today? Thanks for having me on the show, by the way.
I'm hailing from Phoenix, Arizona, where it's about 116 degrees every single day. But you know what? I'm inside with AC, so that's okay. My company, Steady Demand, has been focused on Google Plus services for business, and mainly for the past, oh gosh, coming up on about 3 years. But we pivoted actually about 7, 8 months ago and started launching out all of the other social media platforms. And we're basically really a content marketing company that focuses on helping large to public companies.
Okay, thank you. I'm now going to say hello to Eli Fennell. Hey, that's another great F word. And also thank you, dear Eli, for your creative genius with another F word, meine Führer, in helping us get our laugh on about these Google Plus changes. Where are you hanging out from, Eli? And unmute yourself, please.
I am in Fort Lauderdale, so, you know, we get some hot days, but not as hot as everybody seems to think. Many is a day in the summer I watch the heat map nationwide, and I laugh because I've got a cool Atlantic breeze keeping our temperatures down here. But it is hot. I'm not going to lie. It is hot right now. And as for those Hitler videos, well, you know, I don't think I'd ever done my first one if it wasn't for Google Plus, and people just keep responding well to them, so I just keep doing them. Honestly, you know, if there's one thing about me that I'm not sure whether it would continue if Google Plus went away tomorrow, it would be that, because that is definitely the audience that gives me the best response to those videos.
That's great. And I also know that you just have made one of the great shifts into exploring collections, and we will talk more about that later. So now I'm going to jump on over to Meloney Hall. Meloney, where are you hanging out from?
Hey, Elaine, great to be here with you and everyone else. I am in Dayton, Ohio, almost landlocked, and it is hot when it's hot because I'm in a place called the Miami Valley, which is like a 100-mile basin radius, and when weather gets in here, it doesn't swirl, it just sticks, and there's no breeze, so it's very hot. And I own a company called Big Uptick Social Marketing, LLC, and I help people with their online marketing success. I really enjoy helping them create videos for their projects, and I'm based in Dayton, but I help people all over.
Right, and like me, you're also a Hangout host with Lights Camera HOA.
Yes.
And I understand you're also a Udemy course creator. So you got your hat in a couple different rings, and that's great. And as the show goes on, we'll talk about how these changes are impacting you and your work. Now on over to Molly Youngblood Geiger. Hi, Molly.
Hey, Elaine. Thanks for having me on the show today. I appreciate the topic we're talking about here, and I just wanted to share with everyone that I'm based out of Jacksonville, Florida. I'm actually currently located in Douglas, Georgia, though. I'm helping my mom and dad with a restoration project on a 108-year-old house. So it's been a very warm summer for us. We've been doing lots of work. But primarily my agency, Design Right For You, we help businesses succeed online with an overall marketing strategy using Google products like Google AdWords, Analytics, Google My Shopping, and Google My Business. I am a Google Partners Community Ambassador. I'm a Google Small Business Community Advisor, and I'm a Google Rising Star. So thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you. Molly, you have perked up since hearing that you were feeling the heat today, so I'm so glad you're here. Let me say hi to Ron Snaberger. We have a Florida contingent here for sure. Ron, unmute. There you go.
Yeah, I'm here from Jupiter, Florida, and like Eli, on the coast, and also Molly, she's on the coast. We get the ocean breeze, so the heat isn't as bad as if you're inland. I'm just participating here. I'm over here on Crowdcast looking at the comments. So if you're on Crowdcast, people, send some comments. I'll read them off when we get them. I'm interested in what's going on with Google Plus, and have participated in Hangouts for a few years, and now I'm getting more involved with it, and I'm just interested in learning what's going on so I can put it to use.
That's great. Thank you, Ron. I appreciate your being here and being my wingman. Thank you. Now on over to Scott. As we were joshing in the green room, I was saying, Scott, I'm so glad I don't see you with your wool felt hat on. So how is the weather in on the West Coast?
Well, I'm hailing from the opposite corner of the country from others in the film strip, from Seattle, Washington, and I hadn't quite realized it, but this year we had a record that was broken in terms of heat a couple of weeks ago. It had never gotten above 90 degrees for more than 3 days in a row until this year, and then I think we had up to 5 or 6 days that were over 90 degrees, and that's really hot for us in the Pacific Northwest. But right now, it's about 65 degrees, and we're kind of going back to more seasonable weather. So, we're taking a break between what's really hot spells for here in Seattle.
Okay, and so Scott, we know that you have a way back history in community cable television, but you've been involved a lot in helping people maximize the impact of their work with video. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, I am the Scott in the Scott treatment, and basically what I do is I repackage people's Hangouts on Air. So I'm very involved with Google Plus and the whole scene here. And it essentially allows people who have videos and Hangouts on Air to extend the shelf life beyond the week or week and a half that a lot of these wonderful shows have, because they just need to be evergreened a little bit, and people like to see golden nuggets rather than maybe half an hour or full hour show. So that's what I do, is I create golden nuggets and I improve production values of Hangouts on Air, and that's called the Scott treatment.
So thank you, Scott, and I want to explore more about your work as I carry on with my own stuff. So it's good getting to know you. I want to say hi to some of our G Plus participants today. We have Richard Clarkson on with us. He's saying hi to everybody, and he was one of the folks that did register on over at Crowdcast. So I don't know whether he's working, putting in comments in both places or not. But I am truly grateful that he is here, saying hi and warming up the engagement space. Thank you, Richard. And we've also had Monica Schmidt come by, and she hails from Germany. I know she's really active in the Plus Your Business community and other places here. And she said, "Oh, Elaine Nieberding, sorry, I have to catch the replay. Have fun." And of course, it is a little bit later in Germany than it is here. Right now we're at 2:13 Eastern, and we're going to carry on right now. So I want to start this conversation actually with Eli, because again, the levity that he was able to bring to this whole topic of these shifts in Google and making Google a standalone product, so to speak, decoupling of having to have a profile to a G Plus profile to utilize Google products. That's a change, and there are other changes related to YouTube. So Eli, can you just bullet some of those changes that you referred to in your hysterical video?
Well, basically, Google Plus is being deintegrated from almost everything. We may still see an integration here or there where it makes a lot of sense to have it, but by and large, it's no longer going to be, Google Plus is Google. You're going to have new Google accounts coming out soon. Same one account for Google that you enjoyed with a Google Plus account, but not tied to a social profile. And Google Plus just stands on its own. It's been separated out now from even Hangouts and Photos, which were very core products to it. And now they're really focusing more, as they said themselves, on making this an interest-based network, which I, for one, applaud, because I've been asking them to focus on that like a laser for 4 years, and at times it's felt like they've been very half-hearted and really still wanted to beat Facebook. They really wanted to. I know that at times they pretended they didn't, that there was more to it than that, and there probably was, but sometimes they really wanted to beat Facebook.
Right, and so the engagement numbers are different, but the types of engagement and the people that are engaging together is just very, very different. Some of the people who have written commentary have said, friends and family, the gatherings, and the way that they may recommend products or services, that's a little bit different than when you are connecting with a broader base of people like you might on Google+, or within a very narrow community focused on interests. And this really has particular impact for for marketing and the way we want to share our messages with particular groups of people. So the way we're collecting together and connecting, it's a different experience. And also here on Google+, it's like we're not paying to get our stuff out to different followers. We may have lots of followers, and they will really select how often they want to see us. But if they want to see us often, they always can, and that is a good thing. Makes a huge, huge difference. We now have Jeremy Murphy, who is here. He said, "Howdy, sorry I'm late, but the dog needed a walk." And Jeremy, I'm curious about the weather there. Is it too hot for your dog to go fetch a bone? Anyway, and Richard Clarkson is saying to us he is watching both Crowdcast and also G+ event comments. So I appreciate the jump over. For those of you who are watching on Crowdcast, there are two little slider bars which you can use to scroll up and down within the comments, which are on the right side of the screen, and the left side, which has the video player, and above the video player is the event description. If you do examine that and use the slider bar, if you go up, you will find that I have put a link in there to take you actually to jump back over to the event page. So if you want to jump back and forth to see who's over there, I've actually set that up so you can do that today. The other thing I want to invite people to do, if you're watching via Google+, do go on over and register at ccst.io/e/Elaine Nieberding7. You'll see that right here. You'll see it right here on my screen, as well as in some of the event information. Go on over, because within the Crowdcast arena, you can answer our polls. I'm asking, are you watching live via a laptop or desktop or via mobile? Because one of the amazing things that I have found about Crowdcast is it is really a great way to experience a Hangout and even participate with comments via mobile device. Anyway, enough of that. Let me just once again thank Eli for his great creativity, because I laughed and laughed, especially at the references that you were making to Ronnie Binzer and Christine DeGraff.
Oh, they loved that one. Yeah, I had to point out, of course, that I'd called myself even more boring in the sentence before. Nobody gets out of a downfall meme unscathed. That's the rule.
There you go. Okay.
You can see the one about me that I did.
Yeah, I have watched those, and I will invite others to check those out. They are quite funny and quite creative. Okay, so let's get an opinion from, say, Meloney. Meloney, as you have been considering these issues and these changes, what things have kind of thrown you have you been most curious about, or are you the most curious about, making changes in how you do your work or communicate to the people you serve?
Well, it did impact me to the point when they previously, when they announced that you can, when you comment on a YouTube video, it shows up in your stream, and that was a really good strategy to highlight videos from others that I enjoy, as well as, my comment automatically gets put on my Google Plus stream. Then, when they announced that they're, disconnecting each other, it's not a total divorce, but they're like step children now, I think, involved. Now and that's still going to take place in just a couple of weeks, I think. So right now it's still happening, but that was a really good strategy. So now that my comments on a video will not show up in my G Plus stream, then if I still want them to show up, then that'll take extra steps from me. But I really did value that as a way to get their messages across, and then my opinions about them. And I think that we'll just have to switch from calling it G Plus to just G. Who knows what the G is going to look like? Is it going to turn blue? It's going to turn green? Are we just going to have the quotes? I think a new button's coming. But I think Hangouts are still going to be important because they still want to keep the video creation going, but it'll open the gate for more people to participate in YouTube, because remember when YouTube said, okay, when Google, the big G, bought YouTube, they said, okay, everybody who's already on YouTube, you got to have a G Plus account. And some people left for other platforms, and other people, cringed and signed up. So I think in order to grab some of those people back, they had to take this action.
Yeah. A number of people have said, and I think, Eli, you even shared this to me in conversation, that when you found Google Plus really interesting and exciting, you wanted to lure your friends and family over here, and they went like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And so I think the friends and family thing still works really well in Facebook, and there are, of course, Facebook groups, but even though I do go over there and do interact and want to grow some of my Hangout reach over there, the interaction just feels very different over there. I'm going to say hi to Rain Dowell. She is here. And she says, I'm just driving by for a few minutes to see some of my favorite people, and she'll be watching in the replay. And Richard, Talk to Me Guy O is here. He said, is this chat captured for replay in Crowdcast? Yes, it is, Richard. And if you actually sign in to Crowdcast, you can watch it on over there and take our little polls. And there's actually, if you scroll on up above the video player, there's a link where you can jump back over here to G Plus if you so like. And I also see Tanya Lumiere is here, popping in to say hi. Howdy. Let's see. Elaine Nieberding looks like a burst of sunny sunshine. Tanya, you missed the great shoulder reveal, but I'm not doing it again. You'll have to watch the replay. Anyway, Molly, let me jump on over to you. You were just putting up some data.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Melanie was saying about video marketing, that last week Google Brand Lab came out with a study on Think with Google, that video marketing is anticipated to go up by 74% by 2017. So I think that statement alone shows the importance of video marketing. And why tools like Google Hangouts and Air, they're not going away. I can say for myself, when I first started doing Google Hangouts and Air, one of my, I guess, trip-ups was just getting used to looking at myself, listening to my voice. Yeah, it was one of those learning curve type of deals, but it was something, actually being ambassador in the Google Partners community, it's one of my requirements is I'm required to do a quarterly hangout on, AdWords or analytics or, one of those fun type of subjects. So I just wanted to throw that out there that I posted an article on my feed. If you get a chance to read it, it has some really good insights about video marketing. Thank
you, Molly. Okay. So, Ron, I'm just going to invite your opinions too. You're in a different space in terms of you don't have the same kind of business as some of the other folks here, but you are developing your reach and engagement. And so, what kind of things are you noticing about the development of your own connections and friendships and interests? Do you see this changing because of what Google's doing?
I don't really see it changing. I've just been, for the past year or year and a half, I just started posting and commenting, and I've built up following that way. In that respect, I don't see it changing. I don't think this is going to be as big a deal as people might think it is with Google making these changes. I personally like Google Plus better than Facebook or any of the other social media. I feel more comfortable here. I get a better response, and it's just, I'm gonna plan on using it to enhance my engraving that I'm doing, because I'm starting to feel better. I want to get back into it, but I'm not going to use it to push it. I'm just going to sell stuff on Google Plus. I just want to use it to get the engagement. And if people want to find out what I do, they can get in touch with me any other way they want to. But I've been happy just motivating people with the comments and posts that I do with the motivational and inspirational quotes, and I got a good response from that, and I'm going to keep it going.
Yeah, and of course, not everybody on Google Plus is an internet marketer. You're over here because there are communities that have a focused interest, and you're finding like-minded people. Or you just find the stimulation of the blog posts and the longer types of articles and the type of engagement that goes on here, just very, very different and deeper. Let me jump on over to Scott. Hello, Scott.
Hi there.
So what things are ringing your bells about this whole topic? Things that you want people to know, or how it's affecting you personally, your shows and the like?
Yeah. Well, I agree with Ron. I think, Ron, you hit the nail on the head. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's a big deal, but I don't think that it's going to make one whit of difference if there's G plus the way it used to be, or rather, it's a big deal that G plus is not going to be the way it used to be because it got stuck, and I don't think it was going to grow. But functionally and in real life, I think we still have all of the capabilities and all of the wonderful toys and tools available to us. They've been reshuffled a little bit. They've been rebranded. They've been decoupled and whatnot. But I don't think that anything is going to go away, and all it took was the things that were holding Google Plus and the other apps and the other applications and tools down. Those restraints have been released, and I think you're going to see the photos and Hangouts and Google Plus and Maps and local, all of that soar into great heights. And with the stigma of Google Plus away, it might even be that a year or two from now, people will be coming over to this platform and saying, wow, this is really cool. They might name it something different. I don't know. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. At the end of the day, I don't think it's that big of a deal. But if they didn't do this, then we're just going to be stuck here forever, and that's a long time in Internet time.
And
Elaine,
Yes, go ahead, Ron.
We have a comment over here. Lowell Ann, I can't pronounce her last name. I'll spell it. It's Fuglsang. I don't want to mispronounce it, but her comment is, it's really about the engagement, and this is what I love.
And this is what I love. So, Lowell Ann, and she has a last name that starts with F. So, applause, applause for this comment about engagement. And she is exploring engaging over from Crowdcast, so I'm very glad that she's over there. And thank you, Lowell Ann. We also have Heidi Hornline, who has joined us now. Like we are here in Italy, it is after 8 p.m. now and slowly less hot. And she's saying hi to Richard Clarkson. Hi, Heidi. So glad you're here. So, you know, so many of the tech press was jumping on these changes and saying Google Plus a ghost town. And, you know, it's really the nature of a lot of media to just put things in very dramatic terms because that's how it gets attention. So for those of us that has passion about this medium, we just got to keep on keeping on. In fact, Ron, didn't you put up a post yesterday about, you know, passion and perseverance and persistence? Do you remember the words of that? Wasn't that just yesterday or something?
It was yesterday, and
was that Napoleon Hill? I think it was a Napoleon. It was a Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we're going to keep doing that thing that we love, which is engaging here, and also using this medium called Hangouts because, you know, you get to see our body language and our facial expressions and the intonations of our voice, and we're real people, you know. They get hot and get funny and get goofy and all the rest. And let me now jump on back over to Ben. Ben.
Hello.
What say you, Ben?
Gosh, where can I start? Had to choose me last, Elaine. Had to do it. Had to do it. No, but I mean, seriously, you know, Eli, Meloney, Molly, I mean, Ron, Scott, all excellent, excellent thoughts. I mean, it's going to be really hard to follow up on this. So, yeah, thank you. No. But been around this train, gosh, since Google started, right? You know, back in 1994 is when my career started in internet and search in general. And we've seen changes all the time. And changes are going to happen. The press, they love to take a hold of it. You know, Tech Hunch, call them TechCrunch. You know, they love to put out the Walking Dead articles, and you know, I'm going to be putting out an article very soon about the Talking Dead articles, an article called the Google Plus Talking Dead. But the one thing I think that's interesting this time around is that Google is listening. And this is something that they haven't done in the past. They haven't been very transparent about what they're thinking, what they're planning, and kind of what's going on behind the scenes. And we're starting to see a lot more of that transparency at this point. And I think that's a great thing. You know, we're talking about this shift, you know, about, well, it's now more focused on passions and interests. It's getting more streamlined, and they're not forcing things down people's throats. First of all, I'll say this, is that G+ being a passion and interest-based network, I think it's been that way since the beginning. You've always been able to make connections with people in a much easier and kind of closer fashion since day one. And the people and the circles that you create and that you get involved with, you start gravitating. It's just like any kind of normal social networking event that you have in the real world. Is if you're with a circle of people, most likely that circle of people are of like mind, and people that are not of like mind end up gravitating out of those circles. So I think we've always seen it as far as a passionate, interest-based network. But the thing that I think is really awesome is that they took away the thing that people hated, and that is forcing it down people's throats. It's like, if I'm a YouTuber and I don't care about Google Plus, you shouldn't force me to have a Google Plus account. That has caused so many problems. We deal with it on a daily basis when we're setting up a local page or a brand page or whatever it is. And, you know, it's like, well, I don't know who owns my YouTube account, or I don't know how it connected over to this page over here, but we don't know who owns that page. You know, that's a big problem, and it causes a lot of frustration, which makes people say, I don't want to be involved in this. Okay, all I want to do is I want to show up on maps, I want to show up on the knowledge graph, I want to have a YouTube channel, and it's caused a lot of confusion. So, but what they've done, again, to bring it back is they've listened. And that's what I think is really awesome, and this is kind of a signal of a change. And I think it's an awesome change. I think it's a great change.
So I'm curious, and I wonder how, you know, what methods Google uses to get feedback. Now, Molly, perhaps you can address this, but before you do, I want to say there is a perception out there that Google doesn't do a good job of marketing when it's got new features out there. It's like they kind of throw them out, and maybe it's like after some of the beta testers have tested them, but they just kind of thrown out, and I don't know of one good place where people can go when they're just getting started on Google+, and just have a little hand-holding saying, like, here's a mini course for what you can get, and if you're kind of slanted this way, then do this, and if you're slanted this way, do this. Because for me, too many people have gotten turned off because there's so much you can do. It's like, where do I begin? But Molly, back to you about Google getting feedback. You're intricately involved with a lot of Google stuff and Google partners, so tell me about that.
Yeah, so I actually have had an awesome experience with Google, especially in the Google Partners community, where I actually have 3 managers at the Googleplex that I interact with. And on a regular basis, I'm invited to beta for new products that are being tested, and they want to hear my feedback. In fact, I had an awesome opportunity at one point to actually talk to some of the engineers at Google and get some of my feedback. But I think for the general public, like you were mentioning, there really isn't that connection there. And you know, going back to what you're saying, that they kind of just throw the product out there and say, okay, let's throw it up against the wall and see what happens. There is a way to reply to Google if you have a certain feature that you want to see. Google Feedback is it's a platform where if you just have comments or suggestions, you can, you know, interact with them on that level, but there is no like open forum per se where you can just, you know, contact somebody at Google and say, hey, by the way, this is what I think about this product. So I think going back to what Ben was saying about, you know, they are starting to listen. They are starting to listen to users and get their feedback, I think, is a step in the right direction. But I will say one of the platforms that I've discovered where they really do listen is the Google Partners community. That particular community is a Google-ran community, meaning they have, you know, Googlers from the Googleplex running it, and they do listen to us in the form of surveys and hangouts that they broadcast live from the Googleplex. So I would say to somebody watching this hangout that if they're just a general user, to check out the Google Partners community. It's a great community to learn about Google products like, you know, AdWords, analytics. There's so many different products out there, but they are continually testing new products. So if you have a general question, I would contact them via Google Feedback and get them your insights.
I'll add one thing to that, because I've been a Google partner for a while myself. I have the banner and the Chromecast. No. No, but I've also participated in some of the Hangouts, the focus groups that they did, and I remember when we first started this business, we had a Google Plus representative, and that person then got moved on to AdWords, actually. But I would say that if you want to have an impact on the future of Google and Google products, even if you're just a small business owner, get certified and join the partner program, because, you know, I think we've seen that the majority voice rules, right? And our actions and our behaviors on any Google product affects the direction of which it's going. They are a data-driven company. They will look at the data. The data will say, yes, this is good. No, this is bad. We saw that with authorship, for instance. You know, authorship, it wasn't implemented properly by people. And while there's still an inkling that authorship or author rank still exists, you know, hey, they removed profile pictures. Hitler even said it from Google search. And, you know, but that was our fault. And when I say our, I mean our collective fault. It was the fault of publishers, and also it was Google's fault because they didn't market it properly and they didn't instruct people on how to properly set things up. So, hey, we're all to blame. And if we're all to blame, then we also need to be able to get involved. So.
Well, I wanted to add my theory to both Ben's and Molly's and others who may have this weird theory in their heads. From a marketing standpoint, I could imagine, now this is my wild dreams, that when they started this, you know, it's easy to say, yes, we're going to throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. However, I think they have the money and the resources, that they had a huge auditing team. This is my theory. They had a huge auditing team, and they ran the numbers and said, how much is it going to cost us to push these products ourselves, based compared upon how much is it going to cost us if we create these brand ambassadors. So the numbers probably showed in this scenario that it's easier and more cost effective to just create a lot of brand ambassadors. So that means all of us who use the product are naturally going to praise it and share it, which is what we have done all along. So based on the data they gathered from that was a brilliant marketing plan on their part, because they saved money. In my opinion, they saved a Google amount of money. You know, Google means like a big number. A Google amount of money, and they got direct feedback from those people who use it. So after a process of 4 years, they've been, they've saved a lot of money and a lot of time, and we have been able, as users or super users, to help them decide what plugs to pull. Because I imagine that, you have these brilliant minds within Google, of course, creative, brilliant minds, who they have the permission to have their own plug, and Google, they say, I have an idea, and Google says, yeah, plug that in, let's see if it works. And based on the brand ambassadorship, then they determine, you know what, we got to pull these plugs. And if they still want to maintain the same number of people, they don't say goodbye to the people, they just shift them to, they're just reallocating those resources and those brilliant minds.
Well, my dear Melanie, that was a mouthful. and a lot of very thought-provoking things you're saying. I'm going to jump on over to Eli for a minute, because it looks like he might have something to say in response to Melanie. And then I want to recognize a couple things going on in Crowdcast and pave the way for us talking about collections. Eli.
Can I, Elaine, a couple comments? I don't know if
Please
you're going to cover them or not, but okay.
Oh, Ron's jumping in. Go ahead, Ron.
The quote that you had mentioned, Rain posted it over here. Patience, persistence, and perspiration make for an unbeatable combination. So that was the quote. I think it's a good one we should all try to remember. Richard Clarkson, on the training aspect of what Google might do, he made the comment, they need to subscribe to Rain's expert training and coaching and user-to-user community and the top 10 contributor community and Lights Camera HOA, to name a few. So he's making suggestions to Google on how to train people to use their product. And the other thing I wanted to mention, I know Richard's using both split screen with the event page and Crowdcast, but he has the event page muted and listening to the sound on Crowdcast and watching it over there.
Okay, so what thank you, Ron, and I want to let both Molly and Eli speak. I'm going to jump over to Eli first, and then Molly. Go ahead, Eli.
Oh, I mean, I was just thumbing up
Okay.
Meloney's thing, because I think, it was a lot to say, and there's just not enough time to go through every part of it. But I think there's absolutely something to be said about, the point of throwing spaghetti at the wall is to see what sticks, And if something stuck, then you didn't completely fail, right?
Okay, Molly. Thank you, Eli.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add to what Melanie was saying, that she was right on when she said her statement about people making suggestions to Google, and I have a war story to share about that. So about a year ago, I was hanging out in the Google Partners community. It was a Saturday night around 8 o'clock, and one of the partners had said, hey, I'm on the road, and I need to check an AdWords campaign, and I'm on Google Play looking for an AdWords app. Well, guess what? There was no AdWords app. And I remember thinking, are you kidding me? You're spending billions of dollars on AdWords and you don't have an app for their users to check their campaigns? And so I actually made a suggestion. I'm like, hey guys, might be a good idea to come up with an app for all these, thousands of AdWords, professionals out there. And lo and behold, 7 months later, guess what was published to Google Play, but the Google AdWords app. So I think that's a real-world story of, when you see a need, just put it out there. Hey, why aren't you guys doing this?
And Scott, you have a follow-up?
Sure. I think Melanie was spot on when she was talking about Google relying on brand ambassadors and super enthusiasts to get the word out and to train and so forth. Every platform has its own personality, has its own culture, and that's interwoven within the fabric of Google and I guess Google+. The problem with it, though, is that you've got all of these dispersed islands of interest and enthusiasm, but they're not necessarily connected together. And one of the great complaints is that people would come to the layer or the platform or whatever you want to call it, and they were just so confused. They didn't know how things connected. If I type something in on this YouTube video and then I turn around and all of a sudden I've shared it to my entire stream, I didn't know that that was going to happen, or wow, those sorts of things. So somebody has got to be in charge. There's got to be some measure of leadership. And I'd say if Google's listening, they need to exercise just a little bit more leadership in terms of how all of these things coordinate. And maybe their recent moves lately have been finally them stepping up to the plate and saying, okay, we've tried it out, now this is what it's going to be. And that seems to be the way that they do things. With Google Glass, the same thing. They threw it out, they let it be whatever it was. Then they said, okay, we're going to roll it back. And it's not that Google Glass is going away or that it was a failure. It's just that Google Glass 2.0 is going to come out any day now, and it's going to be better than ever. Same thing with Google+.
Okay, and now over to Ben.
So I have a little bit of a follow-up there as well, Melanie. And you're dead on. So my story is about 2.5 years ago. So, well, yeah, almost 3 years ago when we first started Save Demand. We released the Google Plus audit tool, right, for brand pages. Nobody had done that before. That caught the attention of the Google Plus division, and I picked up my cell phone one day, and I had this really shiny personality on the other end of the line, and she's like, "Hi, I'm from Google." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, all right, sure, you're from Google." She's like, "No, seriously, I'm from Google." And she's like, "I'm with the Google Plus division, the Google Plus marketing division." And she's like, "We're in charge of reaching out to influencers and people of authority and people who know what they're talking about, and basically my job is to become a liaison between you and Google+. And I was like, okay, that's cool. So what can we do together? And she's like, well, you can help influence a little bit about what's going on. We might have some questions. If you have any questions, kind of like how you can call Google My Business, that's pretty much what her role was. I could just give her a call anytime or send her an email and get a response back very quickly. It was actually kind of funny because I'd say about 2 months into that, she was looking again back at our audit tool and said, hey, by the way, is there some other way that you can get even more data about Google Plus brand pages to us? Because we don't have an internal tool to do this yet, but could you guys program it for us? Anyway, that's just a little side story, kind of like what Molly was saying there. But what's interesting there was, and kind of Melanie, what you were saying about talent, is that I think it was about a year ago, I got an email from my representative, and it was that she was being moved basically into the AdWords division. She was no longer going to be a marketing representative for Google+. Very talented, very smart person, and they ended up basically what she told me, I can say this now, is that they ended up moving about 70% of the people out of that marketing division over into other divisions. So I still think Google is horrible when it comes to marketing, but I think they are very good at creating brand ambassadors. And if you think about it, and I'll just be very brief on this, if you think about it, it makes sense. Because if your business has to do with the Google product, you need to evangelize it. You have to tell people about it and what the benefits are, and what's a better way to do that than a business person who is looking to make money.
Great. I'm going to use this opportunity to switch into talking about interests, growing community, growing connections through these collections. And while I know this rolled out, I think it was around early June. Was that right, Eli? Early June?
It was May-ish.
May-ish?
Yeah, it's been around, I don't know, it's been about 2 months somewhere in there. So.
Right. And so it was just, even though I heard about it, there can be all these great features, but you look at your watch and a given number of hours you have in a day, sometimes you don't have time to learn something new. Or you say, okay, maybe next week. Okay, maybe next week. Okay, maybe next week. It was just 2 days ago, as I was getting acquainted with Eli, and I thought, okay, they're bringing out collections. We want to be talking about this. Let me see, like, how many of these Hangout hosts and panelists I know? How many of the people that are my followers have collections? And I went in and I started looking, and it was really fascinating. Some people had collections all over the map in areas of interest. I had no idea that they were posting about those things. And I suddenly got a greater sense of, oh, whole person Karen Chin in many more dimensions than I had even imagined. And same thing as I was getting to know Eli. Well, wow. So now I begin thinking, this whole thing of collections, as a Hangout host, I can go back and collect all those initial creation posts for all my Hangouts and have one easy place for people to go if they want to revisit my Hangouts and see the comments in the comment stream. So I'm excited about that. I want to jump back on over to Eli and talk to me about his experience starting to use collections, because I understand you were kind of a beta tester in that as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still not sure NDA-wise and all what I can talk about, particularly as they were still a little gray when it got leaked. But yeah, I was one of the pre-public testers of collections, and I know there was a form where you could recommend featured collections, and I didn't put anything in. I didn't recommend my own. I didn't recommend any others because I was just too busy, just going through 3-4 years of stuff, trying to put as much stuff as I could in collections, which, let me tell you, Google Plus eats up so much freaking memory on a browser that can be really difficult to scroll that far back. But I'm going to say I think that, you know, it's not just a new feature. It's the first feature in a philosophical shift for Google Plus. I think you're going to see circles abstracted away from the average user. They may still exist, you know, but I think they're going to really hammer on this connecting people by interests. And I can tell you many of the collections I've had have now ended up in the featured list. And I've got, in one case, like 8,000 more people following one of my collections than following my profile in general. And it's, you know, that's not, I mean, that's the biggest, but there's a lot of them, 3,000, 4,000. They want to reward this. So if you want to grow followers, if you want to grow an audience, and I can tell you something too, because I've been on the algorithmic suggested user list, and my numbers shot up tens of thousands within a year. And that just, you know, the numbers looked good, but that never really amounted to like more people, you know, engaging and interacting with my stuff. Collections has actually done that. And just, you know, this is an odd thing to celebrate, but a few of my collections have gone down in number, and I think that's great because they're the ones I most expected that most of my followers were not into following me for. So now I know, oh, look, they just unfollowed that thing. They didn't unfollow the whole of me because they didn't like that topic. They're still going to be able to see my other stuff, and it's great because you can grandfather all of your followers into any collection you create. So that you start with as many followers as you have, and then whatever happens after that is really up to you and how much people enjoy your collections. And I felt a lot more free to post about a variety of different things because of that. Though, I really hope they get it for iOS soon, because I can't imagine what the iOS people think about this.
You know what? That was one of the things I was really looking at. It was like, Google's so hot on mobile. I just got my iPhone 6. I'm engaging with Hangouts differently because I have my fancy new iPhone. And then I'm learning, but collections, I'll be able to do it on my, my Toshiba laptop, but not on my iPhone? I mean, come on.
You can do it from the browser on iPhone, but not from the Google Plus app. That's how annoyingly frustrating that is.
Okay, so I guess they'll be playing catch-up, and this brings me back to Ron's statement, which was patience, perseverance, passion, persistence. It'll come. It'll come. And in the meantime, before it's, fully functional on my iPhone, I'll start, curating my collections on my laptop, because I would be doing that anyway. Right? I would be doing that anyway. I now want to jump over to Molly, because I am fully aware that Molly, on the Saturday Smarties show of Roland Takaoka, they have had a couple shows talking solely about collections and providing some insights and instruction. So, Molly, take it.
Sure. So I'm on the Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties show, and we actually had a series about a month ago where we really dug deep into collections, and Karen did a couple of different presentations where she literally step-by-step showed our audience how to go in, how to set it up, the different dimensions of pictures that can be used, the different ways, the different strategies that collections can be used to engage an audience. So it's something, if our audience members, if you're interested in collections, it's really some great insights that Karen shared on collections and how they can be used.
Thank you so much.
More to that point, Elaine.
Go ahead.
Dal posted a link on Crowdcast and on the event page of that show that Molly was talking about, taking in that link to the Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties show.
Beautiful.
Margarita Crystal Lotus joined us over here. A couple comments. Richard Clarkson, the YouTube page is altogether different now, and I have to figure out how to get around on it. That was going back a little bit. And his comment on collections is that I just wish collections put the ones you are following to be on the top, and the ones you aren't on under those. So that's what he'd like to see as far as collections go.
Wow. So we have covered a lot of territory talking about, handling these Google shifts, feeling more into how we really want to engage around our interest, and learn about these new features which are going to, F-word features, which are going to help us do that. And it's about that time for me to just kind of go round robin and let every person share a final thought. We'll do that quickly, like a sentence or two, and then we'll do a round robin of shameless self-promotion. I'm going to start with Ben Fisher again. Ben, any final thoughts? A takeaway or something you'd like the audience to leave with?
Gosh, so much has been said today. I guess the things that I've been saying for the past couple of years is, and they still hold true, you just need to adapt to become irrelevant.
There you go. Thank you. Eli.
Well, I'm just going to go with my tagline here. The key to social media is being social. It's cliche, but it shouldn't be.
Meloney Hall.
Don't give up. Just keep doing what you're doing, because Google is watching. And the more they see us with our opinions, then we can influence them.
Great. Molly Youngblood Geiger.
Yeah, I tell people all the time that when you hang with Google, you got to hang tight because they move fast, and you either adapt to technology or you get left behind.
Ron Snaberger.
To people who might be new to Google and Google Plus and wondering what the heck is going on, don't really worry about it. Be patient. Do what you came here to do. Engage with people, and you'll be fine.
Scott Scowcroft.
And my comment is that Facebook is for engaging with your family and friends, and Google Plus, even now, Google Plus is for engaging around interests and for finding new friends.
Finding new friends. And I guess I really want to end with that same sentiment that Scott has just said. I am, F-word, floored by the close relationships that I have experienced getting to know people. Well, it started with people wanting to do hangouts, hangout hosts, and how wonderfully collaborative and cooperative they are here. Just floored. This is the spirit of waking up on the planet. That's why you hang out on Google Plus and do this stuff. People that care, people that are concerned, people that share, people that connect, and people that even smile and laugh and get goofy and authentic together. Anyway. Oh, yeah, and y'all have your mics muted, so nobody got to hear you laugh. But anyway.
There's no shame in you, Elaine.
Shame? Hey, we all born with the same stuff, Like, what is this? What is this? Anyway, what I'm going to do is find the link to come on into the Hangout. And we will put it both up in Crowdcast and on the G Plus arena. So for those that might like to come in and chit-chat, of course, we don't have a lot of spaces because we're kind of full. But anyway, come on in. And Ben's got to run. So thank you, Ben. I thank all of my fine panelists. This was one great show. I'm sure we will be getting together for some other conversations. And if you're going to hang out together, you might as well remember, fun is fundamental to finding creative solutions through play. And now I am going to put in this link to the green room. over in Crowdcast, and I'm going to do it over in Google+. And so come on in, folks. And for everybody else, we'll see you on another occasion. Keep smiling.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.
Great hanging
Bye-bye.
out.